Alright, so the last time I talked to you guys, I was telling you about different tax options and how I proposed a plan that could basically provide a better way of having a tax program in the United States. But because after going through that, I realized maybe I need to inform myself a little bit more about the tax situation. So that's why I'm going to inform you guys about other types of taxes and ways they can help us. Now, before we start that, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about our tax. Now, the tax that we have in the United States goes to a lot of many different things. Those things basically include Social Security, Medicare, basically other ways that we can help our citizens in the United States. And if you look on the next page, it talks about the same stuff. It's just showing that it's pretty constant where our money goes. It's not fully understood, but we know basically a general idea of where all our money goes. So how do we get our money? In the United States, we get most of our money from taxes. And taxes include, if you look on this chart, a different range. So the more money you make, the more money you're taxed. The highest amount being 40%, 39.6% actually, and the lowest being 10%. So that means no matter the amount of income you make, you're still going to pay a certain amount of money back to the government to help with these social programs that I was talking about. So that type of tax is called a progressive income tax. So let's review it a little bit. What are the pros to it? Well, a pro to it is it's more fair. You can see that there's more fairity to it when it comes to higher incomes paying more, lower incomes paying less. That way, when it comes down to it, everybody meets in the middle with the amount that they pay, so everybody can survive the same. It also delivers the exact amount of money that the government needs. The government bases what they spend it on by the exact amount that they make in a year. So that way there's no overages in the amount of money that we're getting and how much we're spending on stuff. So cons to it. In the United States, our tax program, not specifically the progressive tax program, has a lot of tax deductions. So this allows big businesses who should be paying about 40% actually only pay maybe about 10-15%. That's not fair to the lower income families because then they'll have to pick up the slack whenever the next year comes around and there isn't enough money to pay for certain programs. And also the next kind of downside to this is there's no punishments for those businesses. Basically, it's allowing businesses to walk over the government and basically control the government. So what is another proposed tax system that can basically help our government fix itself? And it is the flat rate tax. Now this process works in Nordic countries. It's a major area where it kind of thrives the most, like Denmark and Sweden. And the usual amount for those countries ranges anywhere between 56 and 60%. Now this is a huge amount of income. Huge amount of money taken from the income. Now this process gives the government a lot of money to work with, allowing for more social programs, but it also leaves the citizens with a lot less money. So let's look at the pros and cons of this. Pros, there'll be basically no big reduction for big businesses. This means that businesses in a flat rate tax will not have to worry about being able to dodge taxes. I say dodge not being the illegal way where they're shipping off their money to foreign areas and refusing to pay taxes. I just mean they won't have any ways of using tax deductions like gifting money to other sources. Now also, by having a flat rate tax, it completely eliminates Title VI in the US tax code, which is where the big parts of tax reductions lie. Now the cons to this is a high tax rate, which actually can harm small businesses and lower class citizens. So the fair tax. The fair tax is a tax that was implemented during this last election, and it's been going around a little bit, but it's not fully named yet. They don't really have a full understanding of it. But the idea of this fair tax is to completely get rid of income taxes in a whole. That means that there's no more taxes on people's money they earn. But in return, the government does need to make money so that it can pay for programs. So what happens is they will tax what you buy. So if you end up buying a soda that's $1, it might be 100% tax on this soda, and it'll be $2. It's this type of formal taxing that is proposed to be more fair. This could be anything from 30 to 100% on top items. It's just a suggested way. Now, the pros to this is everybody gets to keep 100% of their income. People love the idea of that because now they don't have to worry about going and filing for tax returns at the end of the year. That's a whole separate topic though. It's very stable. They can measure, or the government can measure, exactly how much money they're going to be earning within a given year based upon companies and their sales. And because it replaces the tax system that we have now, just like the flat rate tax, it makes it more safe for businesses, so businesses will always be paying the amount of money that they owe. Cons is, it's never been tried before. There's no country out there that has basically made it okay. They've never tried this. They've never perfected it. It also makes it so that it's an everyday tax. If you're paying taxes every day, depending on what you buy, it can hurt yourself just as much as paying that certain amount of tax with each paycheck. And it protects large income families. So smaller income families will go out and buy that maybe $10 bread. That's going to hurt them a lot more now than if a wealthier income family goes out and buys that $10 bread. Even though they're paying the same amount of money in taxes, it's still going to hurt the lower income families more. Now, the European dual tax is another one. This income tax is a combination of taxes. You can find it in a lot of Europe, Canada, Japan, Singapore, and Australia. The way it works is you exempt all households for a certain amount of money. And so say if you make, usual amount is about $15,000. If you make $15,000 or less, you don't have to pay the income tax. But if you make more than that, you will. And the amount for that usually is about 30%. The idea of this is that lower income families do not have to pay a larger tax, but the higher income families do. But just so that the lower income family doesn't have to pay zero taxes, there is also a value tax that is added on goods. So just like the last tax that I told you guys about, this tax puts a tax on goods. So the way this works is it allows for bigger businesses, more rich families, they'll end up paying the most in money. The lower income will pay the least, but everybody still pays a chunk. So the reason why it's good is it eliminates what they would call stealing from the government. Just like I mentioned all the other times, it basically makes it so you don't have to worry about businesses running away from the costs of taxes. Now, 90% of the country will not have to file for income taxes at the end of the year because 90% of the country is the lowest percentage of income within the entire country. Another reason why this is good is because there's no way for people to dodge the whole sales tax. People go to the store, they go out, they buy food, that's when their taxes will come in. Nobody will be dodging taxes that way. Cons to it, big businesses are taxed more. Businesses can allow jobs, and if you tax big businesses more than what they are, it can hurt the business itself and maybe they don't hire as much. Just a proposed opponent to it, but still it's something that you have to worry about when you're making these tax programs. And the last kind of con to this is it's hard to predict the amount of money that the government's going to make. You have no idea the exact amount. They can kind of judge, oh, this person's making this much and they're going to buy this much stuff. It's having these two variables that can make it kind of dangerous and make it almost impossible for the government to expect what to get or how to proceed. So with that being said, these are many different types of tax programs out there. I think they're all good in their own ways, and for that, I would like to ask you guys questions and comments on that.
Good job.
Thank you.
Which do you think is the best?
I think the hardest part for really understanding which one is the best is knowing which one works, and it seems that the dual tax in both Europe and Japan and Australia, it seems to be working well over there. So if we're having a problem with our tax program here in America, we might want to try to symbolize them, and maybe their program will work over here. At this point, anything's a shot.